hello everyone, and thank you for checking out this month's webcast brought to you by CNU, a nonprofit organization dedicated to help create vibrant and walkable cities, towns, and neighborhoods where people have diverse choices for where they live, work, shop, and get around. And visit us at cnu.org for more information or to become a member. And today on our webcast, we have joining us Gabe Klein, who is the co-founder of CityFi and the former commissioner of the Chicago and Washington, D.C. Departments of Transportation. And for this month's theme, we're talking about transit today. And this month's theme is August's road trip on transit. A lot of people are taking road trips and traveling around. I wanted you to talk about the role transit has in placemaking, how it fits in with some of the other elements that we care about in places.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to break that into two responses because I would like to say that I'm not a purist. Right? Like I'm not dogmatic about this type of transit or that type of transit. However, there are certain truths, right? We know that high quality transit, yes, it can move a lot of people, but more importantly, it can create these nodes that become very valuable because people don't need to move much. I mean, that's sort of the irony of great transit is that if it's really good, people should be able to get most of what they need to get done in their community, take transit when they need to. And, I think that transit is absolutely essential. The problem that we have in America is that we have so many variations on the quality level of transit. We have a lot of suburban areas, Sunbelt cities that have not made the big critical investments in high quality transit. It can be bus, but it's got to be bus that runs frequently. It's got to be bus that maybe has air conditioning, right? And so, and it needs to go where people want it to go. And so I think we need to also be honest about not all transit being equal. All autonomous vehicles are not equal. All technologies are not equal. And so when I talk about not being dogmatic and purist, I mean, let's be able to have a nuanced conversation about how we create great places, transit's role in it, but also the difference between sort of the bare minimum transit and transit that really has that impact. And it doesn't need to be rail. It can be bus. I actually think bike share can be a form of bicycle mass transit. Transit comes in a lot of forms and transit's going to change a lot. And so the more open-minded we can be while staying true to those certain truths around, sustainability, equity, health, and supporting compact development, then I think, all of this new technology can be helpful in creating even better transit. If
you could think about one road trip that you might be able to take, or one of your favorite road trips that you've taken that would incorporate really great public transit, what would be an example of something that really sticks out in your mind as a transportation expert?
Well, okay. So when you say road trip and public transit, obviously you're going to have to take a bunch of different modes, right? So my fantasy, and I haven't been able to do it yet, I live in Washington, D.C., and I would like to be able to take train, bus, whatever, to get all the way up to Canada, possibly even east of Montreal. And then they have a train, like our Amtrak, that runs across the entire country. So through Montreal, Toronto, Edmonton, Ottawa, to Vancouver. And so I would love to make that trip. And then at the end, I would probably have to rent a car to come down and do the Bainbridge Islands, but then get back on some sort of, rail transportation or bus and take it down to San Francisco. So that would be a great road trip for me. It would probably be a couple of weeks. I thought my kids would love it.
And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the ways that you see our definition of transit expanding or evolving, so to speak, over the next few years.
Yeah. One of the disappointments that I've had over the years, really for the last 15 years, since I've been really involved in this space in an executive capacity in the public sector or private sector, is the lack of innovation and open-mindedness of transit agencies to being the central arbiter of all things sort of multimodal. And they get very fixated in the US on, I run the bus, right? Or I run the train. to the point that I feel that the customer often gets lost in the mix, and they sort of do a lot of internal navel gazing, talking to their board. There's a lot of politics, and not a lot of focus on us, the people that use transit. And so, one of the things I'm excited about with all the new technology is the fact that the executives in the transit agencies can't ignore it anymore. Now, is everything that they're going to experiment with going to work? No. Is it all going to be good? No. But the important thing is that they do try things. I'm excited to see a transit agency really go whole hog on a larger microtransit pilot. I'm excited to see more transit agencies do what LA Metro did, and I had to help convince them back in the day, which is to invest in bike share. I'm excited to see more partnerships with Uber, Lyft, Via, who knows who's coming next, right? Because I think where we're going is we're going to a point where it's about more than transportation. It's about curating the trip or the day from the moment somebody wakes up until they go to sleep. And, 8 years ago, I remember Scott Kubley and I, who worked with me in DC and Chicago, talking about behavioral economics and this opportunity we had to grab people as soon as they woke up in the morning and start to incent them to get on their bike or to walk or to get on the bus. What is transit going to look like in the future? How's it going to expand? It's going to change. But I think, again, those truths that we hold dear around high capacity, high quality, sustainable, encouraging and catalyzing responsible development, I think that is going to be baked into it, because if you look at the business models, they're actually working towards the same goals that we are in terms of efficiency. Compact development, new urbanism, smart growth, these are more efficient. They're pro-business strategies. And so you look at what Silicon Valley is trying to do, what Detroit is trying to do. Sure, there are benefits to selling as many vehicles as possible. But one of the things we have to understand about Silicon Valley is inherent to what they do is to try to squeeze every bit of inefficiency out of a problem or a business model. And so when you see Lyft or Uber or Waymo or these companies that are going to launch autonomous vehicles, they will be shared. They will be electric. And it's incumbent upon us who either work in government, have worked in government, care about government, to make sure that government is at the center of the decision-making around policy and representing what's best for people. It cannot be a one-sided equation. So, this could be an hour conversation, but if we stay true to what we believe, if we engage, and if we understand the technology and the business models, we will be successful in a new urbanist way of life, not just in cities, but in suburbs that are going to refashion themselves as urban villages and cities.